Since they're just handing these things out, Damon, I feel like we should just write it up right now. I've decided. Tommy Lloyd, lifetime contract. Let's just get it drafted up immediately.
Welcome on in, everybody, to the AZ Wildcats podcast, live from Studio K, presented by our friends at Circle K, and that was a little bit of a week live. I think I'm just ready for the season to start here. I got my guy Kevin Thomas, as always, with me. I am Damon Fairall, of course, and we are in Studio K, presented by our friends at Circle K. Stop in at America's Thirst Stop and sign up for the Inner Circle today. Kevin, we're going to talk about a lot of things on today's show, including Noah Fifita, what happened in 2024? How do you get back to that 2023 form? And of course, we're going to talk about what a big weekend that this is for the Big 12 Conference. And just from a gambling standpoint in general, we're going to give out our best picks. But Kevin, a little bit of a day off situation yesterday, switching up the schedule. How did you enjoy yourself? And just errands, or what was the sitch?
Hell no. Football season is back, and as you know, Damon, this was one of our last true off days probably before the season really starts to kick off, and it's 24/7 football, and then it gets into 24/7 basketball in addition to football in a couple months. So yesterday, my girlfriend had work, and I took the time at home to just enjoy the space. I got to grilling. I had a brand redacted IPA. Life was really, really good, Damon, in preparation for this weekend, which is going to be even better. We have some top marquee matchups. Ohio State taking on Texas this weekend. Colorado taking on Georgia Tech. And we also have games tonight, like literally kicking off in 27 minutes. We have a game, I believe, between USF, I should say. 27 minutes till that game kicks off. So I'm excited for football to be back, and I'm excited to, have some
early?
Real. Yeah.
I didn't realize it was such an early kickoff.
I think it's 5:30 Eastern, I think.
Wowza.
So, yeah.
Man, we're going to have to get our betting picks in right off the top of this show, aren't we?
We ding, 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 Damon. Yes, we are. But
wowza. It starts, in 27 minutes. Boise State, South Florida kicking off in Tampa. Unbelievable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I'm truly excited not only for that game to watch the second half of it
up, Kevin.
On the other
Football
end.
Season is so back.
Football season is back. Grilling season is back all the way. I'm excited, Damon. How was your day off? I know that you also wanted to enjoy some time, to yourself there. Did you run some errands? It sounded like you might have ran some errands.
Yeah, I've decided Wednesday is errands day forever. In henceforth and forever, errands day, Wednesday. And that's just going to be my life from now on. But it was a good little solid day yesterday, and just rejuvenated, geared up for a football Friday tomorrow, of course, and then we're going to be giving you pregame and postgame coverage of Arizona's game versus Hawaii. So make sure that 30 minutes prior to kickoff at 7 o'clock, Kevin and I will be giving you pregame coverage. And then we'll be going live about 15 minutes after that final whistle. I don't know. What do you call it in football?
I usually just say final horn in general.
But that's final buzzer, final horn. That's basketball.
No, you're right. What
would you call it in football?
Final
Until
play.
The clock hits zero.
Yeah, when the clock hits
after
zero.
The clock hits zero. Well,
when time expires is a good one.
You guys get the situation. If you guys are here early, please drop a like on this video and always subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. But Kevin, why don't we go ahead and just start things off, get into our gambling portion of today's show. I know Glenn will be locked in for this because he was fired up, tweeting at me all sorts of crazy things on the weekend. Because I was trying to sympathize with the underbettors in the Kansas State-Iowa State game, being like, man, what a tough loss that would be.
Yeah.
And then I ended up reverse jinxing it and saving everyone's life. You're welcome. And then Glenn decided to start taking some shots at me, being like, the real ball knowers knew it was always the under. I'm with you, Glenn. That was the play the whole time. That's why I was sick to my stomach when I thought Iowa State scored late, and I was like, wow, what a brutal loss. 7-7 going into the fourth quarter. in an over-under of like 52.5 and you lose, I mean, that's something that you'll remember for the rest of football season. And thankfully, yours truly got up there and was the big enough man to reverse jinx the entire situation.
I mean, of course, you have to. And can we really briefly, before we get into our gambling topics, Damon, just get the elephant out of the room to an extent? I know Joseph thinks probably the elephant in the room is Micah Parsons going to the Packers, but this is an Arizona Wildcats podcast, and I feel like the elephant in the room is Rick Barnes getting a lifetime contract briefly before we went live today.
Unbelievable.
And you tweeted it, and it was kind of my initial, impression of that news was, one, congratulations to Rick Barnes. Like, he's had a great career that he's put together as a college basketball coach. But secondfold, we're just giving out lifetime contracts to guys that don't have one of these.
Not even one of those. A Final Four appearance, Kevin. Game's gone. That's what I don't know if you saw my tweet. I tweeted immediately. Go check out on my Twitter at Damon Dog. The game is absolutely gone. We're giving out lifetime contracts to guys that have not made Final Fours.
Yeah.
And this isn't I would understand if I'm not saying that this happened. Obviously it didn't. Brad Stevens went on to much bigger and better things. But say Butler was like, Brad Stevens, you lost in 2 natties, lifetime contract. That makes sense, right?
Yeah.
You're Butler.
Yeah.
You're not going to do better than Brad Stevens. Tennessee has all the money in the world. I'm not saying that they'll do better than Rick Barnes, and I know Rick Barnes is a very good coach, right? But 0 Final Fours and you're tying him to a lifetime contract, that seems insane.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it's more of a indication of how short Rick Barnes' time as a college basketball coach might end up being in terms of retirement. I mean, I really feel like maybe this is just like a coaching lifetime contract. As long as you want to coach, you can be the coach here at Tennessee. And if you want to retire, you can retire. And we'll have no problem with that. But yeah, it kind of struck me as a surprise. But it did raise a specific question to me, Damon. What would Tommy Lloyd have to do to get a lifetime contract at Arizona, realistically, in your opinion? Because I was thinking about it, and I thought I didn't think too long on it, so don't, go crazy on me in the comments if you disagree vehemently. But 2 national titles in, how long has he been there? This is year 5 coming up? Or, yeah. 2 national titles in his first, I would say, 9 seasons gets Tommy Lloyd a lifetime contract at Arizona. Do you think that that's crazy? Too lenient? First of all, I'm not really comfortable with lifetime contracts in general, but if you were to give out a lifetime contract.
Yeah. I mean, my first inclination was to say that I'm not sure Arizona is the type of program to give out a lifetime contract to anybody.
I agree.
But then I started thinking about Kansas. Bill Self has a lifetime contract. Kansas is a bigger program than Arizona. Who am I to say we would never give out a lifetime contract when Kansas is out there doing it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I guess it's plausible. I think he would need to pretty much have a reign of dominance, like a Bill Self, like a Coach K, where you're at the forefront of college basketball for the better part of 20 years, 30 years. So I don't know that it's like a get 2 national championships in the next 5 years type of situation. I still think that might be too young, just given that would be like Tommy Lloyd's 9th season at Arizona. I feel like these guys they're getting lifetime contracts from being established for double-digit amount of years. So I guess I would say that I feel like in order for that to ever happen, he would, have to have tons of tournament success, much more than we've shown thus far in the Tommy Lloyd era. I would say at least Final Fours, right? If not national championships.
Certainly.
And so, I think it would have to be about 10 to 20 years of deep tournament runs before you could truly even start having those conversations. That's why I think that doing it after 0 Final Fours is complete lunacy.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Especially so close. This is kind of what I was getting at with the actual term lifetime with the contract here. Especially so close to probably the end of Rick Barnes' coaching career. I remember last year there were rumors that he might retire after March Madness, and then now he gets a lifetime contract.
Yeah.
And so is this really like a 2-season contract until he retires? And this is more of like a lifetime achievement award, so to speak, for Rick Barnes.
But it's are you not trying to win now as a program? Are you done? You're done winning at Tennessee? Or I'm not saying that Rick Barnes, it doesn't give them the best chance of winning right now, but I'm saying you're just sitting there being thanks for what you've done in the past. Like that doesn't seem like the reason that you give someone a lifetime contract.
No, I'm with you. I totally agree with you. I'm just really trying to reason out why you would give Rick Barnes a lifetime contract at this stage and where he's at in his career. And that's the logic I'm getting to, right? Is that maybe he's towards the tail end and you don't want to explicitly give him a deadline of, hey, 2 years extension, and then everyone kind of knows cat's out of the bag. Rick Barnes eyeing retirement after year 2. It kind of gives him more of a flexibility, more fluidness to the ending of his career. If he gets to that second year and he has a crazy recruiting class and he really just wants to finish his story in a third year, you don't have to go through the stress of having an extension, having to recruit as a lame duck and all that kind of stuff that we get into on this program all the time with coaching hires and stuff. So maybe it is kind of like that. Maybe you really don't know how long Rick Barnes wants to continue coaching and you don't want to put any pressure on him to decide how many years he wants to be extended. But yeah, it kind of struck me as strange, especially at this point in the offseason, right? I don't know.
Yeah, it's an underrated point. Like, what is the timing on this?
Yeah, what took
Tommy
so long?
Lloyd signed his extension, like 2 months ago or something like that? 3 months ago? Like, it's been quite a while, if not longer than that. So, I mean, I don't know. I think yeah, that's an odd one. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense as to why now. What exactly changed from last year to this year in terms of like, yeah, we got to keep him around for his entirety of his life. Like, I don't know, man. It's just a little bit odd. And I don't want to demean what Rick Barnes has done. I think Rick Barnes is a very good coach, and I think he wins a lot of regular season games and puts together solid teams. But you have to be real. Like, eventually when you have guys like Kevin Durant and all these Tennessee teams that are in top 10 and you never are going to a Final Four, it's a problem. It's a problem. And if Tommy Lloyd is doing that in, I don't know how many years Rick Barnes has been at Tennessee all of a sudden, but if Tommy Lloyd's still losing in Sweet 16s consistently, and has been doing it for 10 years as Rick Barnes has been doing it at Tennessee, I would not be super thrilled about that either. He was Texas's coach for 17 years, 0 Final Fours.
Yeah. Also, for the record, Kevin Durant went to Texas. I don't know which name you meant to pull, but you did say KD went to Tennessee.
He recruited Kevin Durant to Texas and was his coach at Texas.
My bad. That's my bad, Chief. That's on me. I was honestly, I had Tennessee brain, and I was like, he never went to Tennessee. But you're right. I wasn't thinking far enough back.
He was George Mason's coach, then Providence, then Clemson, then Texas, then Tennessee. And like I said, he was Texas's coach for 17 years, including coaching Kevin Durant, and lost in the second round, I believe. Damn. With Kevin Durant.
That's interesting. I literally forgot that he coached at Texas. And so I was just like, when you said that, I was like, Kevin Durant in Tennessee. That did not happen. But you're right. Rick Barnes was, in fact, not the one at Tennessee at that time. But, yeah, it struck me as odd, especially the timing of it. You alluded to it. Tommy Lloyd signed his extension back on April 10th, I believe, was when Arizona Athletics released that news. And like Glenn here says in the chat, lifetime contracts usually mean you're either used to winning championships or expect to win one very soon, or maybe multiple very soon. So, yeah, the timing of it was weird. And overall, Rick Barnes, usually once that calendar turns March, April, the win percentage drops precipitously. So we'll see if maybe this year is different for Tennessee. I don't know what would make it so, but maybe this year will be different. But that's all I wanted to have on the Tennessee thing is what would Tommy Lloyd have to do to earn a lifetime contract at Arizona? But we can get into our betting stuff now.
I don't think that you gave your answer.
I did. 2 national championships in his first 9 years. I feel like
you don't think that that's a little bit early to give out a lifetime contract to a guy who's like 60?
I think.
What would Tommy Lloyd be in 5 years from now?
I don't know off the top of my head, to be honest with you. But I feel like I
expect you to know Tommy Lloyd's birthday.
Yeah, I should. I really should.
December 21st, by the way, if you're interested in knowing further. If Tommy Lloyd be 55, you're giving him a lifetime contract. I mean, I'm not saying that I don't expect him to be here for the long term, but that just seems like
no, I'm with you.
You're almost tying yourself into him for 25 years right there.
I get you. But I was also thinking in terms of like longevity, if I saw like, because that would be 10 years of Tommy Lloyd at that point. I mean, you're at 9, but that's a decade right there. And I think that was like the floor of your expectations with 10 to 20 years of deep tournament runs. And I know he hasn't had like the super deep ones thus far, but I think he's shown the ability to build into that with while also trying to establish himself as like a program builder in a way. And so, yeah, if he was able to reach like 10 years of what we've had so far, and if this year is successful to a high level, I would feel really confident in that 10th year if he's able to repeat this kind of a thing. So, yeah, I think on the low end of years, I would go like 10 But I think in general, you do want that probably 15 to 20 years of ties or 15 to 20 years of results somewhere across the nation.
I think that like I'm with you, and like I 100% hear you on like the whole. Obviously, I feel great about Tommy Lloyd long term. He's 50 years old. He's one of the best coaches in the sport, top 10 for sure, all time, top 10 winningest coach at every year in every step of his career. At the same time, the lifetime contract is a long time.
It's hefty.
That's a big thing to sign up for. I just don't know that there's really much of anything outside of like winning like a three-peating that's making me like comfortable with like a lifetime contract between now and the next 5 years. I just think that's you have to build that up over such a long extended period of time for me to feel comfortable doing that. There's a reason that like, it's the people that get those are the Nick Sabans, Coach K's, those type of coaches.
The Rick Barnes.
And that's why Rick Barnes is a polar bear in Arlington, Texas, right? It's because you're looking around and you're like, all of these lifetime contracts are the upper echelon of the coaching industry at every level. It's all the greatest coaches of all time and Rick Barnes. And you're like,
Yeah. And that's mostly why I brought this question to the table here to start the show, is because I'm not trying to say that I think Arizona and DRF should be, falling head over foot to sign Tommy Lloyd to a lifetime deal. But what I am saying is, like, if Rick Barnes has been able to achieve what he's been able to achieve and get a lifetime contract at some point in his career, could Tommy Lloyd achieve a certain level of success that would maybe earn him a lifetime contract at some point in his career? I think it's an interesting conversation because, as you alluded to, lifetime contracts, those are like the truest winners of their respective sports. LeBron has a lifetime Nike deal. You said Saban. You brought up Coach K. You know what I mean? You don't just get a lifetime contract for being out of school for a long time and doing okay. You get a lifetime contract for bringing excellence to a school at the highest of levels that other programs cannot achieve. And there is no argument for anyone in your field being better than you, so we need you for life. And yeah, Rick Barnes kind of is the Arlington, Texas polar bear in a way in that group of things. But yeah, that's not to diminish anything Rick Barnes has done, but it is a bit of a shocking development in his contract there, Damon.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And yeah, Kevin, I mean, I certainly don't know what from a U of A standpoint, what it would require from their end to potentially make that happen. But yeah, it's definitely a shock from the Tennessee side of things. Just, and I'll go back to my original, comment on the matter. The game is gone. I don't get it, but to each their own. Tennessee, I feel like, is like Rick Barnes almost represents Tennessee athletics. Yeah. Like, it's like, man, you guys had some expectations early and the team
looked great early.
The team looked like kind of fun and the fans were sure into it. But what actually did that entail at the end of the season? Like, what did it lead to? Not really anything, right?
Tennessee's student section is the student section with the burnt orange and white striped pants, correct? Or no?
Not burnt orange.
Or the orange
is Texas.
Yeah, you're right. Just the orange and white.
You're getting your Texas Tennessee thing right now.
I don't know, man.
Is kind of screwed up.
Texas Tennessee on a Thursday. I don't know, but yeah, that's the right student section, right?
They do the checkered. Yeah, the checkered stadium.
The checkered. Yeah, that looks cool. That's what I think of when I think of their like basketball environment. I think of like they have a great fan base at Tennessee.
Their football is probably the best in the country.
Yeah,
I would say.
Yeah. Rocky Top. I mean, they're creative team for their football program. Shout out to them. They're great. But you said the game is gone, Damon, but the game of football has never been more back. And I want to break down some of our best bets for tonight and for tomorrow here on the PHNX AZ Wildcats podcast. Stay right around after this here break. We talk about it all the time, Damon, and I probably should have partaken yesterday because I had the day off. Pure edibles. If you need to catch a vibe, or to relax, or to get some better sleep, Pure Edibles is your go-to edible product from the Noble Herb Dispensary right here in Flagstaff, Arizona. The Freedom State's own Pure Edibles is available in over 130 dispensaries statewide, and we know there's only a little less than 200. So if you're not in one of the dispensaries that serves Pure Edibles, get your butt over to one of the dispensaries that serves Pure Edibles, because not only can you use these on your own and dial in your exact dose because they're meant to be ripped and bit, you can also share them because they're designed to be ripped, bit, and shared with friends and family. So you might be wondering, what kind of vibe am I catching if I go, with Pure Edibles? Well, that is all up to you, because the Pure Edibles effects are clearly listed on each tin, so you know exactly what type of effects you're getting yourself into. They are a full-fledged candy company, so they're not like just covering a piece of THC gummy in all this sugar and chemical and all that nonsense. No, this is a real candy company giving you gummies. Starburst likes Kicks, their chews, and also hard candies like, your Jolly Ranchers and stuff like that. So check out Pure Edibles. Go find yourself some Pure Edibles products from one of the over 130 dispensaries statewide in the Freedom State here in Arizona.
A match made in heaven, Pure Edibles, and Circle K, America's thirst stop for a reason. They have the ultimate beverage selection, whether you want some energy drinks, you want a little bit of a caffeine boost, you want a Polar Pop out of the great soda fountain that we all know and love at Circle K locations, and all sorts of everything else under the sun, even snacks, including the greatest gas deals on the market. Kevin, if you are not an Inner Circle member yet, what are you doing? You sign up for the Inner Circle Rewards membership program. It's so simple, it's so easy, it's so fast. You put in a username in your email, you choose a password after downloading the app, which also takes like 3 seconds, and you're done. You save 25 cents off per gallon on your first 5 fill-ups, then you'll save 3 cents off per gallon every time you fill up after that until you reach premium status, and you'll save 5 cents off per gallon at the pump every time that you fill up. The Inner Circle, the savings are just right in front of you, whether it's the meal deals, the beverage deals, all sorts of energy drink deals, and so much more. Become an Inner Circle member today. Do it yesterday if you can, honestly, because it really is. The savings are just so easy to take hold of. Kevin, I know that you are a bona fide premium member of the Inner Circle.
Correct.
You love being a premium member.
Correct.
And we flash that status around town like it means something, because it does. People look at you differently when you're a premium member. Download that app, become a premium member at Circle K today, of the Inner Circle, like me and Kevin, and check out our one of your nearest Circle K locations. Terms and conditions apply. At participating locations, visit circlek.com for details.
Like I said, Damon, we are going to break down our best bets for college football. I mean, we should probably start with this USF game because it literally starts in 7 minutes.
Unreal.
Yeah, so USF is facing Boise State with no Ashton Jainty. Do you have a lean in this one, Damon?
I do. I was actually opening, and when I first saw it, my first thought was, why is Boise State only a touchdown favorite against USF? And I feel like maybe that's exactly what they were trying to get you with, because on paper, Boise State's ranked. Boise State was in the playoff last year. Boise State has their coach and their quarterback returning. I think it just makes sense for you to think that they're just the superior team. The line opened at 10. It's now at 5.5, just about 5 minutes to kick off. I'm starting to think USF is kind of the play here. It feels like USF has a good team on their hands. Seems like they have a really fun, young, exciting offense. Feels like it's just really trending in their direction. So I'm as of right now, 5 minutes to kick off, I think I'm going in on USF, and I'm going to pull up my phone right now. I'm going to bet on it.
Yeah, I pulled out my phone to start the show, and I bet on it when you were, giving one of your takes about Rick Barnes. I definitely made sure to get my USF. I did money line, I think plus 164 or in the plus 160s in that range.
Plus 175 on Bet365.
It was okay, yeah, plus 175. But yeah, when I was looking at UCF, I wanted to start with a quick little fun fact about Boise State. Did you know, Damon, that since 2003, only Ohio State and Alabama have won more games than Boise State?
That isn't the most shocking thing I've ever heard. Obviously, the fact that they're in the Mountain West Conference is very helpful in that regard. But I think it's as Glenn says, he hates to agree with me. What's funny, Glenn, is I agree with you on the underplay as well. I also won money on that game in terms of under the first quarter total, which that was close. Avery Johnson scored like 5 seconds into the second quarter, which would have lost that bet. So we got away with one there, but I'm just done betting on Kansas State. And Kevin, we put together a nice band list. We're going to debut that on the show. Honestly, I should have remembered to say something before the show, because it would have really fit into the theme of this particular segment that we're doing. But we have a band list. We have one made. Kevin worked hard on one. It looks beautiful. And we're going to add Kansas State to it to start things off, because I'm done betting on those jokesters. But
Yeah.
Are you're also on USF then? That's where you were.
I am also
would
on
you like to
USF.
explain why?
I would. Byron Brown in 2023, in a way, walk with me here, similar to Noah Fifita, like really showcased the dynamic skill set in 2023. But in 2024, I believe, like due to injuries and a variety of different contextual, factors, did not have the same level of performance, right? And in 2025, USF fans are saying that a healthy Byron Brown is going to be a successful Byron Brown. And also, they have 4 returning starting offensive linemen, and then they've portaled in a few also veteran linemen to help out with their depth on the line as well. And not only that, but they on the other side on offense, you don't have Dirk Cutter doing the play calling and quarterbacks coaching anymore. Now you have Nate Potter, who has been promoted to a full-time play caller, who has never been a full-time play caller ever before. And so I think you could see some growing pains. You could see some wrinkles that they need to get ironed out if you're Boise State in this first game on the road in a tough environment. It's the blackout game for USF, so you got an all-black student section, with the vibes there set up. And then you also have the all-black uniforms for USF as well in this one. So I'm going with the vibes. I'm going with the team that has a little bit more continuity, a little bit more, hold of what they're doing game plan-wise. And I'm going with UCF at plus money. I think it's just Boise State. It's a tough opener. It really is. It's a sneaky tough opener. And as you alluded to, I believe you said the line opened at 10.5 in this one and has moved all the way down to 5.5. As well. So there are people that it's not just me and Damon and Glenn here in the chat. Other people around the nation are noticing that that USF has a chance in this game to really make some noise and upset a ranked opponent to start their season.
Yeah, and it seems as though USF has a pretty solid team in place right now, and there's a little bit of hype on the what are they, the Bulls?
Yes, they are
on the Bulls side of things. With a young, exciting offense in place. Kevin, moving on. Would you like to go ahead and give us your next pick? What tickles your fancy here moving forward in the college football slate?
So this one is more of a vibes suggestion. I haven't really got a finalized pick on it yet, but did you see the quote from the Nebraska player that said that they're going to have such an exciting brand of football that it will cause people that are wheelchair bound to stand up out of their wheelchairs to cheer for this Nebraska football team? And that level of confidence, thinking you could work major miracles with your level of play, I'm leaning towards Nebraska minus 6.5 against Cincinnati. I don't know if I believe in Dylan Raiola more than I do Braden Sorsby, but man, if you're talking like that, I know it wasn't Dylan Raiola that said it, but if your teammates are talking like that, you got to back it up. Almost for the same reason I gave Texas Tech number 1 in my preseason poll. If you're paying out the moolah like that, you had better come out in preseason number 1, or else you're going to have some buyers and more. So, yeah, let me see it, Nebraska. Minus 6.5. They're going to make wheelchair-bound people stand up, apparently, according to the team. So,
I mean, I don't hate it. That game, the only reason I'm staying away from it, and I'll tell you why, is just the Nebraska factor of things. It feels like it's just they are so, I don't know, predisposed to hype every single year. Every single year, they're going to have 100,000 people in the stadium. Everybody in the entire state of Nebraska is going to drive to Lincoln, pack the house out. It's going to be a ballistic environment. And then, Brennan Sorsby's going to run for 130 yards and score 3 touchdowns on the ground. And Nebraska is going to be, start off the season 0-3 or 1-2 after beating some cupcake. And the season's going to be over before it started yet again in Nebraska. And that's why I get a little bit scared of it. A touchdown spread feels very doable. It feels like if Nebraska does what they're supposed to do, that shouldn't be a difficult number for them to reach whatsoever. I just can't help but shake the idea of man, are they going to just choke it away? I do kind of believe in Matt Rule to fix that, though. And I think that there's something behind that. Matt Rule kind of has gone into every program that he has and pulled them out of the mud. The NFL wasn't for him, but maybe Nebraska's a better fit. So I don't know. We'll see if Matt Rule is able to pull Nebraska out of it. That would be pretty insane, man, because they've been on a pretty awful run here for about 3 decades now.
Nebraska's opening 5 games are Cincinnati tonight, Akron next Saturday, Houston Christian the Saturday after that, and then Michigan at home. That's going to be a tough one there. And then Michigan State the following game for their homecoming. It's a tough opening schedule, to be honest with you. You don't necessarily, I know Akron and Houston Christian aren't necessarily like, world beaters. But Akron's a MAC team. We know in this office we love some action. So I want to give some respect to Akron there as well. March Madness opponent for Arizona basketball last year. But yeah, like you said, Nebraska scares me in a certain way, and that's why I said I'm leaning towards Nebraska because the way they're talking, you better back that up. But also, not really my official pick because, like you said, the Dylan Raiola and just the Nebraska aura, for lack of a better word of it all, does kind of scare me off a little bit. But if you're talking about pulling church tricks, as Glenn is saying in the chat, I got to listen at least. So I'm listening on the Nebraska -6.5. Damon, you and I were talking earlier about Colorado versus Georgia Tech. How are you feeling about Colorado versus Georgia Tech?
Yeah, I don't have like a whole lot of like analytics or anything to get into necessarily for this game. This is more of a gut feeling type of situation. I think Colorado is going to win that game because I don't necessarily I don't believe Georgia Tech has some world-beating team. And you'll notice a theme with a lot of my picks, Kevin. I like the home teams, especially if they're a dog. And Colorado is a 4.5-point underdog to Georgia Tech. It's at Folsom Field. It'll be a packed house. We all know how crazy it's been, especially in the Dion era of things, and it was crazy before that as well. I like Colorado and the points there, and I'm sticking with the theme of a lot of home teams here in my picks. But Kevin, I believe maybe you potentially have the opposite side of things.
See, this one is tough because I kind of like Brent Key, and I think it's mostly because of what Georgia Tech was able to do in their opener last year. I believe that was actually the Dublin game. I'm double checking it right now, but I think that Georgia Tech is going to be tougher than probably Colorado fans are going to give them credit for. You know what I mean? Coming into this game, Brent Key coaches a very tough squad, very hard-nosed football, the way that Georgia Tech wants to play it, kind of underdog football in a lot of ways. But like you said, the home environment, and I'm not just trying to, do the Dion Glaze Fest, but it really does feel like that home environment in Colorado is notable. Yeah. It is something that needs to be talked about in this conversation. How well is Georgia Tech, an ACC school, going to be able to come into this Big 12 environment, which is real, the Big 12 environment? The DRF was talking about it. I know you saw that on our Twitter. Shout out. Follow PH_Wildcats. And I feel like Georgia Tech might pull it off. I feel like it's going to be another classic Colorado game where it's going to be kind of a shootout, maybe Colorado trying to pull off a comeback, and we're all going to be watching, rooting against Colorado and being like, oh, they're not. See, I told you they're not good. They're not going to pull it off, and then they're going to make it close at the very end. But I do think that Georgia Tech probably pulls this one off. That's you gave a gut take. That my gut take is that Georgia Tech probably pulls this one out by 7 to 4 points in that range.
If you take any account of what our DNVR Buffs guys are saying, Colorado is going to skunk Georgia Tech this weekend because the Buffs, they're going 10-2, Kevin, maybe 9-3, but nothing less than that. I say that all tongue in cheek. Obviously, everybody's a little bit higher on their team than maybe the consensus is, but I do think if Colorado is anywhere close to the level that those guys think that it is, they have to take care of business at home against Georgia Tech, right? If you're going to win 10 games, 9 games, like the Colorado guys at DNVR have predicted, it starts with Georgia Tech. You can't lose that game at home. That feels like a recipe for a 5-7, 6-6 season, losing that game.
One of the other talking points between this game that I really want to get to is the quarterback battle, right? You've just announced Caden Salter as your main starting quarterback if you're a Colorado. But as Glenn brings up in the chat, Haynes King is a serviceable quarterback for Georgia Tech as well, and a returning quarterback for Georgia Tech, right? Which is something that Colorado cannot say. Colorado trying to implement a new offense without he's in the Ring of Honor. So one of the greatest quarterbacks in the school's history in Shedeur Sanders, and also the Heisman and fraudulent Biletnikoff winner from last year, Travis Hunter. You're going to have to rework that whole offense, and it might not look as pretty in quarter one as you might think. You and I know probably better than anybody as Arizona fans that you cannot simply just map out a season of returning players when there's a lot of shifting pieces like we did coming in 2024. Oh, Alamo Bowl. Yeah, Brent Brennan's the new head coach, but we have T-Mac, we have Noah, we got some other returners. We're just going to run it back. The whole squad, we're going to run it back. It doesn't work that way. There are growing pains. There are kinks that need to be ironed out, wrinkles that need to be fixed. And so I do worry about Colorado from that standpoint, and that also is kind of informing my gut decision of picking Georgia Tech in this game. A little bit more continuity. I don't know the exact amount of returners, but I'm talking about from a quarterbacking standpoint. I just feel like Colorado, tough home environment, but Georgia Tech might get it done, Damon. That's my gut prediction. I don't know if I'm going to pick that one, like myself, I'm actually going to bet that game. But if you're making me pick it here, I'm probably going to pick Georgia Tech in this one.
Yeah. And I think that's a good little mano-a-mano that we could have here. And I just put it out in my tweet, Kevin. I think I this is very impromptu. This is very on the spot. But I think that we go ahead and pick like 5 games each week. And we don't have to put week 0 as counting because, there's only so many games in week 0. And we did talk about our favorite bets for that week, but so that is documented stuff. But do you want to pick our like 5 favorite games? They can be the same, they can be different, but just 5 favorite games each week. Tally them up for the season and see who wins the gambling crown here on the AZ Wildcats podcast. I don't know if I have a little bit more than 5 bets here in place on my list. I can definitely whittle them down, but I feel like that's a good one to keep on there because me and you have the opposite pick. From a Colorado versus Georgia Tech game perspective.
I love that idea. I really do. We can go head to head. And we can kind of independently pick our best bets there and go at it. I like that idea, Damon. We'll have to get a little graphic cooked up and start tracking that throughout the year. I do actually have our band list if you wanted to give an updated version of our band list.
Yeah, why don't we go ahead and
here.
pull up the band list here on the AZ Wildcats podcast, a new segment we're going to be doing in Kansas State University. The only ones on here. I love the little S that you drew.
It's not a notebook without drawing the little S doodle in there.
No,
is
absolutely
it?
Not. Crossing out ASU too. Man, that's beautiful, Kevin. Did you draw those yourself with like a little paint aspect?
I did.
Man.
I sat down on my laptop and I was thinking to myself, what would I doodle if I was actually just gonna doodle like I was bored in class, like I used to do? That little top right little crossing out the in between the lines, that was a staple of all my notebooks. You might even see the top right box just totally colored in. But yeah, Kansas State University, you are on the banned list on the AZ Wildcats podcast. We will not be gambling on you, at least this season, ever again. So
I love it, Kevin. I love it. Moving forward, and we probably should get maybe a little bit of a move on here with these picks. But I'm going to go ahead and start. I'm going to go with Baylor money line. Glenn just put it here in the chat. Sorry, buddy, you just agreed with me again because I've been pounding the. Listen, this isn't a shock to anybody. I've been saying Baylor's going to win the conference. I've been very much on the Baylor train, and I think them being underdogs at home, every bet that I have is a home team. Them being home dogs to an Auburn team that has been bad, frankly, the last couple of seasons. What necessarily changed for Auburn going into this year that makes them so much different? Baylor has continuity. Baylor has a good quarterback. They have good running back. They have a coach that I believe in to an extent, and I think they just get the job done in a packed out stadium in a big game versus Auburn early in the season.
Yeah, and I didn't really
Damon's lock of the week.
I love that. We need more of the Damon locks of the week. Maybe, little teaser for potential Damon Doghouse segment coming to a post game near you. But like we were talking about this Baylor game, I'm also big on Baylor. I'm big on quarterback Sawyer Robertson as well. I think that they're going to do great this year in the Big 12. I didn't really give too much of a look to that Baylor game for today's show, but Auburn is not what they used to be. They're truly not. And I think that Baylor, if they are who we think they are this season, could pull off that plus 110 money line for you. And I might be on that myself come game time, Damon. But we are going to get into more of our picks and also some Arizona news and notes on the other side of this break here on the AZ Wildcats podcast. Don't go anywhere. And if you know me, you know I love me some sports memorabilia, and there's no better place to get your sports memorabilia than at Rally House. That's the go-to spot for all your favorite local Arizona team gear with tens of thousands, I'm not joking, tens of thousands of products to shop from. They have new locations in Tempe, Mesa, and Glendale today. So if you have not checked out Rally House, make sure to either find your local Rally House location or shop their entire product assortment online at www.rallyhouse.com today. I am a huge Rally House supporter myself. I mentioned it all the time on this show. I was making myself a coffee this morning, Damon. I have these like rock coasters with a U of A, like Block A logo engraved into them that I got from Rally House at some point in my life. So shout out to Rally House. Like I said, find your local Rally House location, Tempe, Mesa, and Glendale today.
Rally House has all sorts of great gear. They have hats just like this right over there at Rally House that you could find. Saw some complaints that their Rally House in Tempe on the D-backs show had U of A stuff in it. Cry about it. There's Arizona fans that live in Tempe too and go to Tempe Marketplace.
This is Wildcat country.
So please cry about it somewhere else. But I will say one thing that I guess you could say I am crying about is the fact that they're moving the NASCAR championship weekend to on the road, Kevin, starting in 2026, where they're going to take the championship weekend that's been at Phoenix Raceway for so long, such a staple of this community and the sports culture out here, and they're taking it on the road. So the last chance to catch it here in Phoenix for a while is going to be this year, 2025, on race weekend, October 31st through November 2nd. It's going to be an unbelievable time at the foothills of the Estrella Mountains out there at Phoenix Raceway for the last championship weekend for the foreseeable future in 2025. Almost 200 miles per hour of speed, all types of high-level fun out there, food trucks, different companies doing giveaways. You're hanging out, you're having some drinks with people, you can bring the family out and have a great time with them if that's something that you enjoy. Don't miss your chance to witness NASCAR Championship weekend in person coming to Phoenix Raceway October 31st through November 2nd. Tickets for Sunday's Cup Series Championship race sell out every year, so move fast. Get yours now before they're gone. And like I said, they're going to be on the road starting in 2026, so this is the last time to watch the championship weekend in Phoenix in the state of Arizona before it's too late. Guys, check out those tickets now. Tickets and hospitality and upgrades still available. Get yours now at the link in our show notes.
Carl in the chat says Damon's Doghouse is a great name for a segment. Players and coaches that underperform that week. He does indeed see the vision. Damon, do we have any other best bets before we move on to some Big 12 talk?
Well, of course, Kevin. We need to pick our 5 bets for the week.
Okay. See, I actually, to be honest with you, when you said that, I was like, oh, this is a future thing. I was like, okay, let me plot, let me think. But 5 best bets in terms of... Well,
we can't do it tomorrow.
You're right. No, you're actually correct because tomorrow's show is absolutely loaded.
Tomorrow's show, we have no time to do any gambling discussion.
No.
We will, of course, be... and Kevin, you know what? Maybe you can start throwing some of these bets together. I'll let the people know what our plan is for the rest of the week. Tomorrow, we're going to be bringing on a Hawaii journalist who covers the team. What was the name of said journalist, Kevin? I would like to not be disrespectful.
No. Tomorrow we have Christian Shimabuku. Sorry for the butchering of that last name. We have Christian Shimabuku coming on tomorrow's show to talk Hawaii football. He's been at practice all week. He covers the team for Aloha State Daily out there. So we're going to get boots on the ground talk from what is going on in Hawaii practice, how Arizona can match up with the Rainbow Warriors on tomorrow's show.
And perhaps a less biased point of view of the upcoming game versus the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors, because I think from an Arizona Wildcats perspective on things, it's hard to go into the game feeling like this is going to be much of a game. It'd be nice to hear someone that is more connected with the team and just watch them pull off a win against a Power 4 team in Stanford that maybe they can provide some insight that me and Kevin do not have on hand necessarily. Also, some updates on Michael Alejado and what's going on with his injury. Feels like he's going to be in line to play, and it's not going to be too much of an issue for Hawaii there, but has been limited in practice, has kind of been going through some more walkthrough type stuff and resting up for Saturday's game. So another thing we'll be asking about tomorrow. We'll also have our guy Justin Spears on to give us his top storylines for Arizona's Week 1 matchup against Hawaii and just kind of what to look out for from an Arizona Wildcats perspective going into the season. But Kevin, I know that you definitely grouped a little bit more of bets from tonight and tomorrow night and weren't looking as much towards the weekend. Would you like me to maybe pick my 5, run through them, and then give you the opportunity to maybe group 5 together that you like?
Yeah, no, let's do that. You give your 5. I'm almost through the construction of my list. I have 3 on mine. So, yeah, by the time you're done with giving your 5 best bets, I'll be ready to get mine.
Sounds good. I do have highlighted here. I have about 8 bets, so I'm going to have to whittle it down about 3 here. And this is just kind of what a lot of this gut reaction looking at these lines. And just we'll see how it ends up doing this weekend. I'm going to go ahead and forego that USF, just the money line, a little bit of a big number. I think when we do this judging at the end of the year, we can both do a record and a units. So, if you, for some reason, are picking like an underdog money line, that you can go ahead and reap the rewards of that, Kevin. But I'll start things off. I'll go with that Baylor money line number. That's going to be an easy one of my 5 here. Love Baylor, love this matchup. And I think that they just beat Auburn. And I honestly, I kind of want to tease it up a little bit. There's a part of me that's like, hey, Baylor minus 6.5 at like plus 202, I think I saw before the show. I'm loving that. I'm going with that. I think Tennessee minus 13.5 against Syracuse. Syracuse lost they lost their quarterback, and Kyle McCord. They lost their best receiver to Penn State. I don't think Syracuse is going to be very good. Tennessee at home. I know they lost Nico Iamaleava, but he wasn't like an unbelievable quarterback for them last year. I think that Tennessee gets the job done by a 2-touchdown spread there and wins that game fairly handily. I'm going to go ahead and take Clemson minus 180 against LSU. Clemson money line, not the points there. But I like Clemson to get the job done at home against LSU. I think that they're just a better team. I like Liberty minus 25.5 versus Maine at home. I don't understand why that number is so low. I think Liberty is the favorite to win their conference. I think Liberty has been, one of the more consistent teams in college football over the last few years. And Maine is Maine. What are we doing? Why is that spread so close? I think that should be a total blowout, going with that one. And I know people aren't going to like this, Kevin, but I'm going to do it anyways. I'm going to go ASU to cover their spread versus NAU this weekend. And here's why. It's twofold. Here's why. Number one, ASU has been made a bona fide college football playoff contender by everyone throughout the offseason. If they are what people think they are, being able to beat NAU by just over 4 touchdowns at 29 points or more, 28.5 point spread, that should be doable. You should be able to do that as a college football playoff contender. NAU, not a bad team, but definitely just shouldn't even be a game, shouldn't be close, should be a blowout. And if I'm wrong, Kevin, then I get to either, one, laugh about ASU somehow losing, which won't happen. That's not going to happen. But number 2, I get to fraud check ASU all week on the show. You guys lost me a bet, and now I get to it's a win-win because I either get to fraud check ASU or it counts as a W for me. That's how I see it.
I love that, Damon. And I know you saw this, and I wanted your take on it if you had one at all. Sam Levitt leaving that comment on the NAU player's Instagram post. Did you see that at all?
I did not see that.
It is on PHNX Sun Devils Twitter right now if you wanted to go check that out in live time. There was an NAU player that uploaded a pretty innocent, normal, run-of-the-mill Instagram reel where they were just saying, like, X amount of hours until we make history against ASU, something like that. And Sam Levitt replied with, like, bet or something in the chat or in the comments. And I'm just like, what is the NAU player supposed to say?
With Sam Levitt's shirtless trophy-holding picture that he took after the Big 12 championship game. Classic Sam.
It's like, I didn't know Sam Levitt was just patrolling NAU posts, being like, I can't wait for them to say something about us. I need to set the record straight. Thanks for the bulletin board material, bro. And it's like, we're NAU. You're supposed to whoop us. And you're bet, dude. Bet. You're making history? Bet, bro. But yeah. Yeah, I just wanted your take on that, Damon, before I got into mine. My best bets over here. But in terms of my best bets, Damon, I'm taking Arizona to cover the spread this upcoming weekend against Hawaii. That's a fact. Have to. I'm not going to let this first iteration of our 5 best bets go by without putting an Arizona bet in there. Arizona to cover the spread against Hawaii. I'm going to throw it in there because I've already bet it, and so it's already out there in the ether on my account. USF money line. They're going to win today. They're going to win. The game is going live right now. It's 0-0 in the first quarter as we speak. I'm going to go Cincinnati. Our conversation earlier about that game changed my mind. It didn't change my mind, but it shifted me. I was in the middle, and it shifted me from one way to the other with you, Damon, there. And then for my next bet.
Is that 6.5?
I believe so, yeah. Are we allowed to do overs or totals?
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to take Ohio State versus Texas over 47.5. Over 47.5. I feel like that game is going to end with one team in the 30s, one team in the mid to high 20s. I feel like you're going to reach 50 pretty comfortably in that one. Two of the most two of the most loaded with star power teams in the country. Alabama minus 14 versus Florida State. Alabama, I feel like one of the more underrated squads of the elite of college football. Not a lot of talk going on about what Kalen DeBoer has been able to do this offseason. We're talking about Texas. We're talking about, other huge programs in the country, what they've been building. Not a lot of talk about Alabama. Meanwhile, Florida State, what have they really been up to since last year's incredible disappointment? I don't know if they've retooled to the extent that is required to really have a huge bounce back year in 2025. So I have Alabama winning by 2 scores in this one and covering that spread. Those are my 5 best bets for this weekend.
Minus 13.5 for that Bama one?
Yeah, minus 13.5.
Gotcha. Cool. So those are our 5 bets each. Baylor money line, Tennessee minus 13.5, Clemson money line versus LSU, Liberty minus 25.5, and ASU minus 28.5 for Damon. And then for Kevin, Arizona minus 16.5, USF money line, Cincinnati plus 6.5 versus Nebraska, Ohio State, Texas over 47.5, and Bama minus 13.5. I love Glenn's comment here in the chat. Move the line to 40 ASU, Damon. Think with your head, not with your heart, and your pockets get fat. And then goes on to call Kevin biased for saying that Arizona will cover the 16.5 point spread versus Hawaii. So on the one hand, Kevin, ASU's line is so disrespectful that it needs to be 12 points higher. And on the other hand, you're an idiot for betting what the actual line is. Stop being so biased. How dare you?
Well said.
Do I have this right?
Yeah, I think you put Glenn in a box there. That was really well said, Damon. But yeah, that is
or
all
in other words, adhere to Glenn's biases and leave your own at the door.
Glenn is in the chat saying he's not saying it's. He's just saying it's not the best bet on the board.
I listen, Glenn. I agree with you. I'm the guy that has ASU spread in my bet and U of A spread not in my bet. I also think that Arizona probably covers right now, but I don't know. I do think it's close. I do think that there's a world where Arizona is like pretty dominant in the game, not very close. We win by about 2 touchdowns. It's like a 14-point game. And Hawaii covers, but it's, not necessarily all that close. If it's a close game, it's a complete and utter disaster, and the season is already on the brink.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, and I'm glad
to keep things as level-headed as possible, Kevin.
As you do, as you always do. You're known for that, actually.
The thing is I don't think that's exaggerative in this moment, though. If the Hawaii-Arizona game is a dogfight, are you not coming into the postgame being like, man, I don't know how Brent Brennan is going to be able to turn things around in year 2 and find a way to keep his job? Because if it looks like it did versus even like New Mexico last year, where it's like, is this defense going to stop anybody? And I know New Mexico ended up having a pretty good offense, but it's like, it's just kind of this idea of like, you need to vastly outperform the teams that you should have more talent than, or else it's going to make people start thinking again, what is this doing? What is going on with this coaching staff? Immediately. So there's not a lot of room for error for Brent Brennan and co. I think you almost have to cover the spread or come close to it, or else it's kind of a problem. On the other hand, if ASU is a college football playoff contender, then they should be able to cover that spread versus an FCS opponent. But we'll find out.
We will indeed. And as Connor says in the chat, in Fifita we trust. And Damon and I are about to break down how we think Noah Fifita can refine his 2023 form that he lost in 2024 and 2025. So, Damon, I feel like we got to start this conversation by outlining the success that Noah Fifita was able to have in 2023. 2,800 yards, 72.5% completion percent, 25 passing touchdowns to only 6 INTs, and an 8.6 yards per attempt in 2023, that Alamo Bowl winning season. But in 2023, that passing core, like the pass catcher core, looked a lot different than it did in 2024 in many ways. You had, of course, at the top, like you did last year, Tetairoa McMillan, but the supporting cast of Jacob Cowing, Tanner McLaughlin, Montana Lamonius Craig, and Jonah Coleman out of the backfield really gave Noah Fifita a lot of different options to go to. Michael Wiley as well.
Michael Wiley had like 8 touchdown catches in 2023, I'm pretty sure. Lots of mouths to feed in from a pass catching standpoint in that offense.
Correct. And then you move into 2024, you win the Alamo Bowl, you lose Jedd Fisch, you lose your OC, you lose a couple other staffers on that Alamo Bowl squad. And then you bring in Brent Brennan, you bring in this new staff, and Noah Fifita was not the same quarterback. He had more yards, though, 2,900 yards this time around, but a 60% completion percentage, only 18 touchdowns, and this was the nasty part. 12 interceptions, leading the Big 12 Conference in interceptions thrown, and only 6.9 yards per attempt last year, Damon. A lot of the supplementary pieces in the pass catcher core last year were not up to snuff. There you had Chris Hunter, Quali Conley, Kean Burnett, Jeremiah Patterson, and Sam Olsen as some of the other leading receivers last season. I know that Quali Conley, running back, but he was still utilized out of the backfield quite often last season. And I think entering 2025, you get rid of Dino Babers and Matt Atkins. You bring in a Seth Doege and a Josh Miller.
Best coach in college football.
Yes, talking about Josh Miller. And then also, you bring in a Joe Salavea on the other end. You promote Danny Gonzalez. We've talked about these, changes to the point where they're blue in the face this offseason. But that's not the only difference. This year, you have a much different pass catcher core. You have a much more diverse, amount of skill set in the wide receiver room, Damon. And I feel like the changes from a staffing and roster standpoint, that's a good floor to provide Noah Fifita an opportunity to bounce back in 2025. Do you think that is the biggest indicator that Noah Fifita can refine mostly the efficiency numbers that he had in 2023? Because the yardage was just about the only damn thing that got better for Noah Fifita last year.
Yeah, the yardage gets better, Kevin, by like a mere amount of like 90 yards from the season before. But he does so in almost 100 more attempts. As you noted, 6.9 yards per attempt in 2024 compared to 8.6 yards per attempt in 2023. The completion percentage drops by about 12% from 2023 to 2024. So it was the whole thing was an efficiency thing. Like Arizona was throwing the ball way more in 2024 because, let's face it, Arizona was down every single game that they were playing almost, especially in the final 8 games of the season when they lost 7 of them. They're throwing the football a ton because the run game wasn't working on the one hand, and they're down in these games on the other hand trying to play catch up. So Fifita's having to throw the football. The other teams are knowing what's happening. Like the opposing teams are going into it saying, hey, they're going to try to throw the football, and they're going to try to throw it to this number 4 guy who seems to be the only person that can actually catch the football. So it made it where it was the offense was so one-dimensional. It was part of the reason that, Kevin, I think we felt like there was zero identity on offense throughout the entire season is like you just nothing worked. It felt like every single thing that you tried to do, the opposition knew what was about to happen and what was coming. If there's any single plan in place, that's just going to help Noah Fifita in 2025. Just kind of take some of the pressure off of him, make things a little bit easier, like have some, I don't want to call them like trick plays, but there's always those plays like jet passes across the, when you bring a slot receiver in motion and you throw him the football right and it counts as a pass, or maybe like just like screen plays where you kind of have a numerical advantage. Like there's things you can do in terms of spreading the ball out horizontally to make things interesting and kind of add like almost a run game element to your passing offense that we just didn't see at all last season. And I expect those things to be a lot better in 2025. If Noah has any semblance of a run game that can take some pressure off his shoulders, I think that's just going to make him look all that much more efficient like his 2023 self. And not to say he's necessarily going to put up those numbers, not to say he has that level of talent around him, because as we highlight there, Kevin, when you look at those skill position players, almost all those guys are NFL players. Probably not Montana Lamonius Craig, right? I know he's gotten an opportunity. I think he's gotten cut since. But like he was like a roster invite for camp. But I think Jonah Coleman will be in the league. Tanner McLaughlin's in the league. Jacob Cowing's in the league. Tedero McMillan's in the league. And Michael Wiley, has had 2 straight seasons of being on a preseason roster. So it's like he's playing with a bunch of super talented players versus this, really, really poor list of skill position players that I'm looking at from a 2024 standpoint. That you highlighted in T-Mac, Chris Hunter, Quali Conley, Keon Burnett, Jeremiah Patterson, Sam Olsen. I mean, just put those up side by side against one another. It's night and day, man. And it makes sense why there was such a big drop off. And yeah, I'm expecting Noah Fifita to, with better players around him, look better, but also just with better coaching and a better run game, that can just make a more balanced offense, because I think that was really the issue last year is the lack of balance on offense.
It was, and we're taking this conversation into overtime on the AZ Wildcats podcast here today. And Damon, I think you laid it out perfectly, right? Like I think like the lack of versatility last year was evident in every single game. I think that this year, and you mentioned the running backs, and that's something that I really wanted to key in on as well. If you look back at some of the past like 3 years of what Arizona football has been able to do offensively, it's been really interesting how the running backs have been utilized in the offense. And I think last year you saw like not having a guy like Ja'Cory Crosky-Merritt, who, drink if you heard us say that he might have got Arizona to a bowl game last year if he was on the team, but it's real. Like his ability in the backfield would have been huge for Noah Fifita, and not just from a running standpoint, but also from out of the backfield, what he can do, what he can open up for your offense, right? We're talking a lot about how Seth Doege's offense is going to give Noah Fifita the ability to utilize the middle of the field, utilize the underneath routes, utilize stuff that he was not able to do last year because defenses were keying in on either one, T-Mac deep ball, or two, funnel screen underneath, and the rest, we're cool giving up because they're not going to utilize it anyway. And so I think that this year, Seth Doege's going to give the defenses a lot more to think about, and he has a lot of tools to do that with, right? And Ishmael Mahdi, Kedrick Risano, right, and Wesley Yarborough, like all the dogs in the running back room, right? And you also have the wide receivers that are incredibly versatile as well. You can mix and match and line up in different areas with multiple guys there. I'm very optimistic that Noah Fifita in 2025 will be able to find way more success than he was in 2024, and I don't even think that's a question when you look at the improvements that Arizona football made in the offseason that felt tailored to Noah Fifita, and they should have felt tailored to Noah Fifita. If you want to have a successful program this upcoming season, Noah Fifita has to be the spearhead of that. He has to look every bit as good, if not better, than he did in 2023 to really get you back to where you want to be as a football program, right? You have Oscar Rios coming in, and I think that, we're talking about this in a Noah Fifita vacuum, but I want to step out of that really quickly just for a second, because if Noah Fifita looks drastically different, a complete 180 than he did last year, if he finds all of the 2023 form that he had, what kind of message does that send to an Oscar Rios who just signed on to commit under Seth Doege? It kind of shows you this man could do miracles on me, and I already think I'm pretty damn good, right? And so I think...
Can I say my doomsday scenario, it's Seth Doege's going to go be a head coach at a smaller program somewhere else, and Oscar Rios is going to follow him.
That is doomsday.
Or Oscar Rios is not going to end up at Arizona because Seth Doege was this driving factor in terms of wanting to commit there. I don't know that that's necessarily true because there's that relationship with the Fifita family, with Dash Fifita, with Noah to an extent. So it might be a little bit deeper than that, and it probably is. But like my doomsday, the doomsday in me is like, oh my God, Seth Doege is the truth, and he's so much the truth that everybody sees it. And we were the first ones on it, Kevin. We were genuinely there was a time where there were two people on Doege Island, and I'm not going to say that we had like an SOS sticks built out, because I think we were loving life on Doege Island back then.
Yeah.
We had plenty of water. There was food galore. It was paradise. We were living life. Shipwrecked, but it was honestly a good thing. And shipwrecked via Captain Dino Babers.
Yeah, Dino. Well, no, we went out on a boat with Dino Babers, and he didn't tell us that he didn't know how to operate a ship. And so when we went out on the boat, he just stranded us.
I actually haven't taken this thing out on the water in about 12 years.
He stranded us. We crashed on the island, but we were all safe. And then Dino saw like the little getaway dinghy and just took it. And then you and me were just on Seth Doege Island.
Honestly, I think it was more so like the boat was sinking, and we were almost like, you know what, Dino? You have been so unhelpful throughout this entire process. Just take the rescue boat. Just go. We'll figure it out. We'll figure things out without you. And so we let him go on the rescue boat, leave, save himself, and we were like, we'll figure it out. And
Babers
by golly, did we wind up on Seth Doege Island?
You and I are on the boat, taking buckets, trying to get water out of the boat, like fighting for our life. And Dino Babers is just taking water from out into the ocean, putting it back into the boat. And we're like, what are you doing? You know what? Take the dinghy. But no, with the Seth Doege offense, I truly believe, I know that is doomsday, right? But the way Seth Doege talks about Brent Brennan, it feels like Seth Doege, and just the way Seth Doege talks about head coaching, it feels like Seth Doege wants to take this as a more gradual route. Yeah. Now, obviously, I know if you get that call, you get that call. and you don't get to be like, can you call me again in 3 years when I feel like I'm ready? You got to go, right? I get that. But I really do feel like Seth Doege is here for at least 2-3 years, at least for Arizona. Just the way that he talks about it, the way he talks about Brent Brennan, it feels like he's bought in on helping Brent Brennan rebuild this program in a way. And I think that the way Seth Doege is wired, or the way Seth Doege appears to be wired from when we've spoken to him, it feels like he is I'm going to finish my meal before I start dessert kind of thing. And I think that when you look at
that, I think that there's an element of that at play for sure.
Yeah, and I think when you look at Oscar Rios, and we talked about it not yesterday because we were off yesterday, but Tuesday, we talked about it on Tuesday about how Oscar Rios, any program in the country could come in at the buzzer and swoop in for Oscar Rios. But what is the one thing that Arizona has that other programs don't have? They got Seth Doege, and it's Seth Doege can do miracles on Noah Fifita, turn him around 180 like I was saying earlier. That sends the perfect direct shot at Oscar Rios saying, hey man, look what I was able to do. Noah Fifita looked last year. I got him right back to where he needed to be. What do you think I could do with you? Right? You could run this program if you wanted to. That's the kind of talk that you're able to do if you're Seth Doege because you've done it now. And I think that if he's able to help out Noah Fifita, it only goes to further this program in the long run. And then getting back into the vacuum of the Noah Fifita of it all. Like I said, the versatility with the passing routes that you're able to run with the running backs you're able to send out of the backfield, or just alleviate the pressure on Noah Fifita by having a more competent run game. We saw every year. It's a story of football, right? The quarterback who, let's just say Noah Fifita isn't one of the elite throwers in the country, right? If Noah Fifita was just an okay quarterback and you give him an elite run game, he's going to look like a great quarterback, right? So if you can give Noah Fifita, who is one of the best throwers of the ball in the country, a serviceable run game this upcoming year, maybe even a dynamic run game that can help out his passing game, he's going to look just like how he looked in 2023, and I'm confident of that.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. I think that it has so much to do with the, kind of the pieces around Fifita and just kind of, how they can help supplement him. Because I think that one thing that always sticks out to me is I've seen Noah Fifita go out there and play elite level quarterback at the college level and it be good enough for a good offense. So to me, that almost screams that everybody else needs to fix up, right? Because we've watched it with our own eyes. He's led one of the most efficient offenses I've ever seen in an Arizona Wildcats uniform, and looked great in doing so. So what needs to change around him to facilitate his level of play at that level? So I agree with that. I think mostly first and foremost, it's kind of, it's one thing that's kind of mixed into two for me. It's the run game being efficient and balancing out the offense. And I think that almost kind of goes together with the coaching and the skill position players aspect of things. If Ishmael Mahdi can come in and be that guy, if Kedrick Reesano can take a step up, if Seth Doege can scheme together a efficient running game, I think the combination of those three things can open up so much for Noah in 2025. Kevin, real quick before we got out of here, we don't have to spend too much time on it. I just wanted to highlight how big of a opening couple of weekends that this is for the Big 12 Conference and just kind of the odds of making the college football playoff. We all know last year that there was only one Big 12 representative in the college football playoff, and it felt like not enough, right? And it's not to say that there was not like a team that stuck out like a sore thumb that was like, oh, they should have been in. Because there was a 4-way tie with 3 losses at the top of the Big 12. It feels almost like a Pac-12 situation again, happening all over again, where there's like almost a cannibalization of sorts in the conference happening, where the conference is actually really deep top to bottom. So the lesser teams can beat the upper teams. And in doing so, they hurt themselves from national exposure and getting to play in the college football playoff, getting the money that each team gets to share from a school doing so. And so one of the ways that you have to counteract that is by performing really well against those other conferences when you get those opportunities to play them in non-conference. Early on in the season, you've heard us talk about the Auburn-Baylor game ad nauseum. I think Baylor, that is such a massive game for the Big 12 in particular. There's 3 games Big 12 against SEC. I think all are winnable, Kevin. I got them highlighted here. This week we got Auburn, Baylor. I think Baylor, they're underdogs, but I think at home can easily win that game. ASU at Mississippi State. ASU needs to win that game if they want to make the college football playoff. I think that is fairly obvious, and Mississippi State not really a good team on paper. And then Kansas at Missouri, rivalry game. Missouri could easily beat Kansas, but I think Kansas and Jalen Daniels, like I kind of lean them in that game. I think there's a real shot you go 3-0 against the SEC through the first 2 weeks of the season. Then you go later into the college football playoff aspect of things, and you can tout that as a conference, right? Brett Yormark can get up on his high horse and say, well, we went undefeated against the SEC, and you can use that as at the end of the year. Big Ten opponents, we, of course, have Nebraska, Cincinnati later today. We've talked about that game quite a bit. Could be huge if Cincinnati could get the upset there. You got Utah at UCLA, which is a big one, Kevin, that's happening this weekend. Utah, the favorite in that one. I think that would be a kind of a must win for the Big 12 versus the Big 10, because then you have Iowa State, which I think that game's almost a coin flip rivalry game. Could go anywhere. Probably a total of 2 touchdowns scored in that game, so it's bound to be close. And then Oklahoma State at Oregon, which is bound to be a 50-point loss. So if Nebraska wins, if Oklahoma State loses to Oregon as expected, then you almost need Utah and Iowa State to handle business there against the Big Ten to go 2-2. And then here are the I think the big ones. These mean more than anything, Kevin, and that's the ACC opponents that you play. Because if you're gonna want to get multiple teams in the college football playoff, I think you almost have to take advantage of your time against the ACC, and so you can say at the end of the year, we beat these guys head to head. And, we're the third power conference here. We're behind the SEC and the Big Ten. Because let's face it, the playoff committee is going to choose those two, conferences as the big conferences. They're going to get the most teams in no matter what.
No, yeah, I'm with you. And honestly, Damon, plaudits. You laid it out very well. I think that there are huge stakes right here for the Big 12. And you mentioned something very important there. Brett Yormark, the implications of how he'll be able to sell the Big 12 conference depending upon the performance that they have this year, right? I know that Kansas State and Iowa State, that was a disgusting, sloppy, messy, gross game that they played in Ireland. And I feel as though, right, maybe Brett Yormark was watching that game sweating a little bit, thinking like, okay, we're supposed to be the quarterback conference. Avery Johnson can't throw a ball even though it's wet. And Rocco Beck looked good, but what didn't really set the world on fire.
He looked bad in the first half.
No, but I'm saying like the stat line at the end, like if you're just looking at like green and red stripes.
I'm just saying he was 7 of 17 in the first half. He looked bad.
It was that bad?
Yeah.
Damn. I didn't know it was 7 of 17 bad, to be honest with you. But
he made the plays when it mattered. He was 3 of 3 on fourth down, which were all basically on him. So,
and like you said, right? Like your 2 quarterbacks in that game, like they look not as advertised, right? I'll say that way. And this Big 12 conference is supposed to be the conference of quarterbacks, and it's supposed to be like a true head-to-head rival for the SEC this year in many ways. And if the Big 12 can come out and execute in these games, right, it really gives Brett Yormark a leg to stand on, 2 legs to stand on in a way when he's talking at Big 12 Media Day about how this is a premier conference. This is the quarterback conference. This is all the things that he wants to say the Big 12 are. I think that the opportunities the Big 12 has this season to make a name for itself in the power, national media scope is huge, Damon. And I think that when you talk about matchups like what Baylor has coming up against Auburn, right, that is a Auburn, for as good or bad you think they might be this upcoming season, that is a huge brand in the SEC for football, right? So if Baylor is able to make a statement by beating Auburn to open up their season, that's going to be massive. And I know that the ACC opponents are a big deal as well. You want to beat those programs, right? But you really want to lock in on Auburn, Mississippi State, and Missouri.
If you can win those 3 games, that would be huge, because those Big 10 games don't outlay all that well.
They don't
for the Big 12. But Kevin, I did want to do a quick exercise here.
Okay.
I want you to either tell me which school you feel confident wins the game, or say you're unsure when I call off these Big 12 versus ACC games.
Got you.
Georgia Tech versus Colorado at Colorado.
Confident that Colorado can win that game.
Well, I mean, but you picked Georgia Tech, didn't you? So you would say unsure.
Yeah, I thought it was. Wait, am I saying they're confident they're going to win, or that they're confident?
Me a gut reaction. Which school are you backing? / are you unsure?
Then unsure.
TCU at North Carolina.
Oh, yeah, I'll back TCU against North Carolina.
Okay. Baylor at SMU.
Confident.
In Baylor?
Yeah.
Stanford at BYU.
Oh, Stanford at BYU. Confident in BYU.
Pitt at West Virginia.
Confident in West Virginia.
Really?
I am. Rich Rod, dude. He's bringing it back.
Okay.
Louis bags. Get out of here. The energy is there.
North Carolina at UCF. Are you just confident in every Big 12 team?
I'm not. I got to see it with North Carolina before, I'm like.
But it's UCF, bro.
True. They don't have RJ Harvey anymore either.
And then SMU at TCU. My point being, and Kevin didn't help me illustrate that point whatsoever because he just picked every Big 12 team. But I was trying to say that these are very up in the air games. These are games SMU's ranked. You play them twice. SMU versus TCU, SMU versus Baylor, both in-state rivalries. Anything could happen. Stanford versus BYU should be a blowout. I think Pitt will kind of light up West Virginia. I think North Carolina should be able to beat UCF. So you have 2 losses there, 1 win that are almost guaranteed, I think, and then the rest are very up in the air, down the level. You got to be able to beat take advantage of those ACC games. You got to win those SEC games, and I think the Big 12 should set themselves up decently well for getting 2 teams in or more. But honestly, I feel like this is a situation where we're almost looking like the new Pac-12 coming into place here. For example, and this is all via John Wilner, most of this information, check out his article in the Arizona Daily Star. But in 2024, 2-loss BYU was ranked 7 spots behind 2-loss SMU, with BYU having a head-to-head win in Dallas against SMU. So that just kind of illustrates, I feel like, the lack of credence that's given to the Big 12 conference. And things change by winning those non-conference games. Got to take advantage of those. Starts today, starts tomorrow. Big 12 has to win those ACC, Big 10, and Big SEC games. That's going to do it for us today, I think, Kevin, on the AZ Wildcats podcast. We, of course, are going to be giving you a pregame show 30 minutes before our kickoff versus Hawaii. We'll be doing postgame 15 minutes after. Tomorrow, loaded show, 2 p.m., Hawaii journalist as well as Justin Spears coming on to talk Arizona versus Hawaii and kind of preview the game one day out. That's going to be a lot of fun. And, of course, check out our intern, Cohen Kinney's preview article that he did on gophnx.com for our website, just kind of letting you know everything that you need to know as a primer going into the season for the Arizona Wildcats football team. And check out our TikTok, AZ Wildcats Pod, I believe, on TikTok, Kevin.
Yeah, AZ Wildcats Pod on TikTok.
AZ Wildcats Pod on TikTok. Going to have all sorts of stuff going up on the TikTok side of things. Kevin, that's going to do it for us. Anything else before we get out of here?
Nah, got nothing today. Got nothing left. Got nothing left except for gambling on football and watching football. Yeah, can't wait. Anything like it. Nothing in the entire world. I'm Damon Dog. He is Kevo Post. We are the PHNX_Wildcats podcast. Follow us on all social media. We'll be back on a Friday edition at 2 p.m. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and until then, peace out. Bear down. And go Cats. UCF down 7-0. USF.
We all silly like the mayor.